Today's word of the day is merchandising.
Merchandising, merchandising, where the real money from the movie is made.
Typically, when a cartoon series becomes popular, merchandise of it gets made and then sold. But then there's things like Transformers or My Little Pony, which are specifically made to promote already existing toys.
This makes them into half-hour toy commercials where good storytelling is not given top priority. However, that's not to say that all such shows are bad. Sometimes the people behind them are talented, creative, and capable of creating fun characters to star in interesting stories, which then become timeless.
Unlike today's topic, the Street Sharks.
Another failed attempt to copy the success of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which nowadays is mostly brought up during discussions on the worst cartoons ever made. But is it really that bad?
That's up to me to find out. So sit down and prepare for a Jawesome time with the Street Sharks.
The villain of this story is Dr. Paradigm, who conducts evil genetic experiments with aquatic animals because, well, the government dropped the funding on his finger longer invention. Dr. Bolton witnesses this and plans to report it, so Paradigm gene slams Dr. Bolton into a monster so terrifying that we don't even get to see it. To prevent Bolton's sons from snooping around and endangering his research, Paradigm gene slams them as well. They die and are thrown into the sewers, which is where I splice in the end credits to fool people into thinking that this is the end, which nobody will fall for because it's obvious they survive. So, what's their first thought about being almost murdered?
Anybody else as hungry as I am?
Now that's relatable. Whenever someone tries to murder me, I do crave a Big Mac.
As they dine on their burgers, they become the titular Street Sharks, which I shall now introduce to you. The leader of the sharks is Ripster, the great white shark. He's cool and, smart, because as a human he built this invention, and in a few episodes he does some computer work. That's it. Streaks is the tiger shark. He's a cool dude who rides rollerblades. He likes looking at his reflection and the chicks dig him?
Cool.
Slamoo, the whale shark, is the strongest because he played football and he can use the seismic slam attack. That's it. And last is Jab, the hammerhead shark. He's cool and lazy. Although, he's only really lazy in the first episode. Well, some websites say that he's the inventor of the group, but that's just because of the jetpack that he has in the first episode. The rest of the series makes it pretty clear that he didn't build it himself, meaning that he's the fourth shark. Our heroes, ladies and gentlemen, they've just now been transformed into huge mutant sharks. And what's their reaction?
That lousy gene-slamming Paradigm's gonna pay for this.
Lighten up, guys. Maybe it's not all bad.
I don't know about you, but I'm still hungry.
Okay, either these are four furries with shark personas suffering from compulsive eating disorder.
What are you doing? I couldn't find the remote.
Or this is pretty stupid.
And in case anyone thinks that they're being influenced by their shark side or something, nope.
Throughout the entire show, the other characters never point out that their attitude has changed, which implies that these guys were always eating things at the drop of the hat. Good to know.
Feeding frenzy!
Oh yeah, I mentioned other characters. The sharks have two trusty helpers. The first is Ben's, a gnarly friend who supports the sharks with gadgets, vehicles, and also gave them their own hideout in the sewers, which he just had lying around. Jawesome! And then there's Lena, a student of Dr. Bolton. She's skilled in genetics, so she gives the expertise in the field. She is pretty serious and stiff, so naturally she gets annoyed at the behavior of the sharks and Ben's frequently. Just kidding, she never does. No character of good alignment may find the protagonists annoying. That would make them evil and only worthy of failure. Huh, why does that sound so familiar? Anyways, let's talk about our main villain, Dr. Paradigm, also called Dr. Paranoid, because he was injected with piranha DNA, which makes him turn into a piranha man when he's angry. He constantly wears this robotic armor to always be prepared to fight the sharks, which is odd cause his henchmen do all the fighting anyway. On a different note, I think the designers at some point noticed that this outfit would not look good in public appearances, so they gave him this purple robe, which looks so tacky that I imagine Paradigm saying,
I don't want to look like a weirdo. I'll just go with a muumuu.
Perhaps you're wondering why public appearances would matter to a bad guy like him. Well, Paradigm is seen by the citizens of Fission City as a hero. The only person who can protect them from those evil street sharks who want to mutate the whole world. So technically the show is about the sharks trying to find their father, proving themselves as heroes, and bringing the true villain to justice. Most episodes have the sharks fight Paradigm and his new schemes of the week.
Once these racks are filled, I can complete my latest masterpiece.
I thought I was your latest masterpiece.
Things change. Stop whining.
He always tries to mutate a bunch of people, which, to his credit, did work in a few cases, but only to introduce new allies for the street sharks, such as Rux, the rockstar shark, El Sordo, the sword-fighting swordfish, and Moby Lick.
Now let's see if you can live up to your name and lick those sharks.
And just like the sharks, these people don't care that their entire lives have now been changed, and that their loved ones will have a hard time accepting their new selves. No! As long as Paradigm's mind control thing doesn't kick in, it's cool.
Jawesome!
Initially, I thought about discussing the lack of scientific logic behind all this, but when they introduced Manta Man, the fusion of a scientist, a manta ray, and an alien, I figured I was wasting my breath. Instead, I'll mention some examples of bad writing. In episode 4, Slamoo gets captured by Paradigm and is given a mind control device. And just when we're about to see the sharks fight one another...
Hey, cut it out.
And that's it. He's free. Episode 8 starts with them stopping a few criminals, and immediately the police believes that they're the good guys. That's it. They're off the hook. Just like that. The writers did not bother to use this for any new potential stories, and just 4 episodes later, Paradigm releases one of his goons from prison with a robot shark, which immediately labels the sharks as criminals once more. Best thing, the police officer does mention how little sense it makes for the street sharks to release a prisoner they themselves captured, but whatever! And here's my favorite. In episode 10, during a fight, the sharks destroy a hotel that belongs to Mr. Cunnyworth, and nobody cares. Nobody helps him. He's left without a place to work, without a place to live. He's left with nothing. Understandably upset, he visits Dr. Paradigm.
Oh, those damn sharks, they destroyed my hotel. You know what I'd like to do?
Yes, I know what you'd like to do. You'd like me to mutate you into an electric eel monster so that you can fight the sharks and get revenge.
Actually, I was thinking of suing their asses.
That's a little twisted, don't you think?
So the sharks are to blame for turning this innocent poor man into a monster, a servant to their enemy.
What goes around comes around, street shark.
Am I supposed to know what you're talking about?
And where does this all go? Nowhere! Absolutely nowhere! The sharks never find out who Reptile is and why he hates them. Wouldn't want the sharks to feel bad or anything.
Jawesome!
I get the feeling that between seasons 2 and 3, some corporate executives felt that the show wasn't bringing a big enough crowd, so they figured that the sharks needed richer personalities and better written episodes. Just kidding. They thought that the sharks should go on some wild adventures outside of Vision City. Suddenly, Washington, D.C., some fake Soviet country, Atlantis, and time travel. Good lord, what's next? Space?
Prepare for stealth shuttle liftoff!
Make that shark shuttle liftoff!
Oh, god damn it. Just so you know, the spaceship was not built by bands or the sharks. It's a gift from the President of the United States. The sharks saved his life, but he can't publicly declare the sharks as heroes. Because, so he helps them in secret. The most powerful man in the world hands over an actual spacecraft worth billions of dollars to a bunch of mutant shark jackasses, and there is not a single trace of it anywhere. The sharks could have built a spaceship themselves in their backyard and it'd be less far-fetched.
In all fairness, even great cartoons can have silly episodes like this, but they're usually executed quite differently.
For example, Dr. Paradigm sends Kill-Amari back in time to kill an ancestor of the sharks. Typically, this would make way for a medieval culture shock episode where the characters go to the past and do things like jousting, being accused of witchcraft, or feeding the rabbit of carbonade.
Look! Jesus Christ!
But no, they just fight. That's it. Another change to the show came in form of musical interludes.
Street sharks into the future. Gonna smash paradigm!
It's just 4 pieces of footage from the episode, with some cheesy music in the back. It's quite obvious this was used to save money on animation, but they could have come up with something better. Isn't that right, Dr. Paradigm? That's really lazy, sure, but cutting corners did allow the animation as a whole to get better. Here's some bits from early on in the show, like this wall regenerates for no reason. Rox's head is a bit too close to his left shoulder, and here Reptile makes his entrance. We get a commercial break, then the animation is simply played back a bit, and when he leaves, it's played backwards completely with the street reforming. Huh. Well, self-rebuilding streets would at least explain how the city still stands.
Shark Dive!
Oh yeah, Shark Dive. That's one of their favorites.
Actually, while we're on the topic, here's the top 5 most popular Street Sharks catchphrases.
Number 5, Fin-tastic. Number 4, Jawdacious. Number 3, Shark Dive. Number 2, Jawesome. An honorary mention to my personal favorite, Dorsolatemus. And number 1, used all of 71 times throughout the series, is Shark Attack.
Shark Attack! Shark Attack! Shark Attack!
The entire Street Sharks franchise was a failure. It did make some money, but not the kind of money that the creators were hoping for. And so, the TV series was scrapped, with its final episodes introducing their replacements.
I'm T-Bone. This is Steggs, Spike, and Bullseye.
Now, half of my audience is like, huh, dinosaurs. While the other half is like, oh my god, it's the Extreme Dinosaurs!
Yes, the Extreme Dinosaurs had a backdoor pilot at the tail end of the Street Sharks. Originally, I had planned to review their show, starting with these introductory episodes, but upon seeing this...
You're gonna use that on us? The Man-to-Man I know could never do such a thing!
You don't know me! No one does, not even me. I know who you are, Man-to-Man.
Me too. You're not a guy who deserts his friends for some bad attitude dinosaur who's only using you to get what he wants.
I knew I had bigger fish to fry. This stretch of episodes involving the Extreme Dinosaurs, here called the Dino Vengers, was the best part of this cartoon. The dinos had a rivalry with the Street Sharks, which introduced a new form of conflict that did spice things up, even if it was quite cliché.
Give me that dagger! No, bastard! Bitch! I hate you! I hate you too! We're so not gonna get together by the end of the movie! I know, because I hate you so much, right? Right! Oh!
The dinos did get their own show in the end, where they had a different backstory, and honestly, everything in it seems superior to what I saw on the Street Sharks. Better characters, better stories. Surprising considering how both shows were practically made by the same people. Then again, I'm quite nostalgic about the Extreme Dinosaurs, so maybe I'm unable to judge it objectively.
You know, kind of like the Street Shark fans that are upset about this review.
Feeling frenzy!
The characters are bland, the writing is bad, and it's very poorly conceived. Admittedly, I've seen worse shows that made me angrier, and the Street Sharks had some so bad it's good moments, but I really cannot recommend it to anyone who isn't nostalgic for it.
It might not be as bad as some people say, but it's still... Dorsalamus. This was Pharaoh Forever, and I'm taking a shark dive out of here.
Well, that review took way longer to make than it should have. Hopefully the wait has been worth it. And I do promise, next time we're finishing the Saga series retrospective. In the meantime, watch some of my older videos, or how about giving some love to my friend the Little Norwegians. He made a very interesting video about low poly graphics. I advise everybody to watch it. So, with everything said, let's end things on an outtake that I did not quite know where to put in the actual review. Enjoy! While collecting information, I discovered the Street Sharks wiki. Yes, it exists. And funny enough, it mentions an upcoming movie. Directed by Michael Bay, starring Hugo Weaving, John Leguizamo, Katy Perry? Okay, this has to be a joke, right? Let's Google Katy Perry Street Sharks. I guess it is real.
Shark